Hey there, everyone. Aha, I see people are coming in. I hope you can hear me. I'm trying my AirPods tonight. Sorry to disappear on you there. Well, wow, nice to see everyone. Chris, wow, this is good. Oh boy. All right, well, better be on my game tonight. You know, this is kind of unscripted and without a net, but we're going to do our best. Before I get going tonight, I'd like to thank you all for supporting this and for watching week after week. We're already into episode 6, which is kind of amazing to me that I've been doing this for 6 weeks now, which means we've been doing all of this pandemic thing for a lot longer than that. But anyway, it's really good to be here again, and I really thank you for joining me and for watching them on YouTube afterward. This one will be repurposed on YouTube afterward as well, and I really appreciate those thumbs ups and those subscribers and things like that. That helps a lot and brings a lot more people into the fold, so to speak. But anyway, tonight I've got a very special guest and really needs no introduction, I don't think, among the people that I'm seeing skirt by here. But Lori Vrba has been on my radar for a long time and probably on a lot of yours. Back from when she did her first book, The Mothwing Diaries, which was really, really a wonderful book. I wish I had the book sitting with me right now, but I was kind of running at the end of the day here. But anyway, she's got such wonderful work, and her work is so transcendent. I used in one of my descriptions of it, and that was more. I mean, she tells these stories that are just, in one way, personal to her, but they're all of our stories in a way, and it's hard to explain, and I probably shouldn't do too much more of that before inviting her back in here. I do see that she's here now. But anyway, Lori does all kinds of things. I mean, she's just such a multi-talented artist, and you know, she's an artifact maker, and she's a photographer, and she's a performance artist, and she's a videographer, which maybe she doesn't know, but I love her videos, and they've been kind of intimidating to me in a way. But I just love her work, and it's got this southern kind of voodoo sensibility about it, if you'll allow me that. But it's just so at one time kind of frightening, but also comforting at the same time. But anyway, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to get on and I'm going to introduce you to Lori as long as I can find her here. I hope she hung on. Excuse my low-tech stuff here. Right. Without further ado, here is the one and only Lori Vrba. There you are.
Hey, Bill Schwab.
How are you?
I am well.
Good, good.
How
I wasn't
are you?
hearing you through my AirPods.
You're,
Did you hear everything I was saying there? Did it come through?
I know. No, it's humbling and hard to take in, but I appreciate it very much.
It's so good to have you here.
Your backdrop is kind of like a virtual backdrop that some people use because it's so pretty, and you're actually there.
Thank you. Well, we should have done this out in your yard where you have your things too. You know, we'll get into that a little bit later, but it's very nice of you to join me. Let me thank you for that first. I have to look at the camera now.
To you, Bill. I always like talking to you.
Yeah, like you said today, it's always fun. You know, there's really no problem hanging out with you. You know, I have a good time.
That's why I agreed. If I would have had to prepare something, I think I would have said no. But it's just
you should know me well enough to know that I don't prepare for a lot of things like this. It's more fun. It's more fun, like I say, to fly without the net. You know, I mean, really, what have we got to lose?
I'm all about that.
Yeah, no, it's a good time. But you know, I want to talk about, you know, a lot of things actually, but I'd like to talk about your work to begin with. I hope I described it. It's hard for me to describe in that way, but I kind of thinking of you as, you know, we'll get into the workshop things, but you sort of create this ethos around the whole thing that's just so marvelous and so wonderful and so very much you. And I don't know, can you tell people a little bit about, I don't mean to jump right into this, but can you tell people a little bit about where that comes from? Uh-oh, did I?
Gosh, no, it's okay. When, you know, I had not been working in this way until I moved to North Carolina, which is now 13 years ago, which I can't believe. But I'd been in Texas all of my life. And when I came here, I didn't know anyone for 1,000 miles. The landscape was completely different. The culture was actually completely different, which surprised me. I didn't know that was going to be true. Um, and I had been doing, children's portraiture and families for a lot of years, and I had a successful business doing that. And I really and because I hated it, in my mind, I was terrible at it because it just caused me this great angst. And I finally figured out that I thought it was photography, but it was the idea of making any photograph to please someone else for the sole purpose of pleasing someone else.
Mm-hmm.
And when I realized that and I started making pictures to just say something about myself and also just to please me, then I loved photography again. And so I just kept doing that. Um, and as soon as I started, I would say in a way 12 years ago, it was, I was finding my way there for about a year after I moved here. And then once I started doing that, I've never slowed down for a second.
No,
And
you haven't. That's one
all
thing
of the,
about you is you're always on to something, and you're always on to some new things that are really exciting. And you, like I
oh
say, you
gosh,
create this kind of you sort of create this kind of community around it as well. I mean, I know when you first did your book, and then your print sale of different prints from it, and then even as recently as the pandemic, when you were doing things and you were doing charitable donations through some print sales, and this response to it was incredible, and it was just so much fun to watch. But you're like one of those, dare I say, energizers or bunny kind of people that are just always moving forward, a shark that's always having to move forward to do things. And anyway, but I mean, I've just loved the sensibility of the work. I remember seeing an early video before I really started to get to know you, and it was from one of your events that you had done down south. And this was part of Gail Stevens was part of this, I think, and it was
it was
just so
probably
amazing, this
with
video that you
Lois too.
created from it, that it just, you
Uh-huh.
created this whole event that seemed fantastic. And later on, I became part of one of these in a way that we can talk about in a little bit. But anyway, that's the thing that I've noticed about you is that you really kind of like myself, you're kind of in the community of the whole thing. You create events that are fun for everybody to become involved in. And I love watching that happen. I mean, I love watching your following, and I love watching your work. And anyway, tell me a little bit
Thank you.
more about how you developed that then. Pigs fly and things like that.
Well, when I was first focused, I, was I felt like I literally sort of separated my time between, making the work and then also learning. I'm completely self-taught. So I wanted to see everything that was out there. And then I didn't have any community here. And I didn't really know anyone that I could talk to. So I went to events and portfolio reviews and festivals and anything I felt something I could do and in line with I would go to it. And I did that for a lot of years, and I spent a lot of time doing that. And at some point, I just started to think, you know, the institutions and the humans who have put together all those things that have kept me alive and also educated me and connected me to other people, what would it feel like to facilitate something like that? And that's when I started to think about those kinds of things. And it's really only, because I had a friendship with Ann Berry,
We have to
that
talk a little bit
Pigs
about Anne
Fly,
too.
right, and Pigs Fly retreats, which is a huge part of my life and a great gift to my life. And she is an amazing partner. So, and that just gives back to me every single time,
Yeah.
you know, I'm there. So
Yeah.
it's crazy that I thought, wow, what would it feel like to give back? But there's always something in it, those moments still.
Yeah, I mean, I think that you've kind of tapped into that whole thing too, where it really is part of the whole performance and it is part of the whole thing. I mean, I don't mean to say that, but like, you know, in my own world, like with photo stock or anything like that, I just love the kind of community of it that comes out of it. And the same thing that
Yeah.
happens with you at Pigs Fly. And, you know, you do it to such a wonderful extent. I mean, where, like when I came down, I'll tell everybody, I went on one of them down on Ossabaw Island, which I don't think you do them on now. You're doing them on St. George Island
Well,
on,
we made a point when we planned this whole thing. It was called Pigs Fly Retreats because we always knew it wouldn't be limited to one place.
one
So
specific place.
wherever we're in the mood to take the adventure. And so the last two we've done on Cumberland Island.
Cumberland, that's it.
Yes, but
Well,
we've done. So I think we're about to do our 8th.
Fantastic. Well, as I was saying, you kind of create this event where you step outside of yourself. It's like something where you, you know, and I have to admit that I went to it, you know, I mean, I kind of went down there to kind of hang with you and to see what you were up to and to fly my drone and to have fun and things, but it became so much more than that, you know, and you consciously directed it in that way, which was really quite nice. And it wasn't just about, you know, bringing props and things, and I just can't explain it. It's the whole feeling of it. When you know, I went down there expecting one thing and I came out thinking I had stepped off the planet for 4 days and, you know, done drugs that I never did. Yeah. Or something, you know. And
right.
So, you know, you guys, both of you, and like I say, Ann Barry, who's also a wonderful and very talented artist who we should have on this sometime in the future if this continues. But you both created this kind of thing that just felt like a home that I never really realized existed or something. And I think a lot of it had to do with the environment that I was in, because it was completely, you know me, I'm going Iceland and Faroe Islands and anywhere above the, you know, the Arctic Circle is where I like to go. But this was like, I mean, we ran into alligators, you know, I mean, there's that video,
I know,
you know,
it's one of my favorite videos.
Yeah,
yes.
Well, that aside,
Yeah.
I mean, I was just so completely, utterly transformed there. You know, I mean, everything about it, like, you know, I haven't even really looked at the work.
Bill. It was very
was
sweet. You were
yeah, well, geez, sorry. Yeah, well, I had a good time. I mean, you know, we set up the darkroom and we did normal things, but to me, it was just like play. I couldn't sleep. You know, I just had to go out and, you know, wandering around at night in the jungle and thinking, things can eat me here. You know, I don't live in a place where things eat me. You know, but anyway, that's what I'm saying is that people should really check this out because it's so much more than what you think it is. And I think it might change your work and it might change the way that you look at anything like that. You know what I mean? And so I'm so happy to hear that you've got the 8th one coming up.
Well, I want to say, you know, when Ann and I were putting this together, we talked about the fact that we were never going to call it a workshop. And we have a welcome lunch, you know, when everyone arrives. And we always say right then, really our intention, which is not to necessarily teach you anything, even though we're learning from you and you're maybe learning, we're all learning from each other at the same time. Well, our goal always with the retreat is to crack you open creatively and that you leave connected to the strongest part of yourself and also to the earth and to that creative part of yourself and importantly to the people you've just spent this time with. So that's our goals for the retreat. And,
well, and you're, if I might say, you're
home.
extremely successful at it. And I would say that not only the people that you meet there, but when you come out of it, you know, you're kind of a changed person. You know, I mean, it's, you know, I used to look for these things in Grateful Dead concerts or in, you know, different community events or things like that. You know what I mean? I'm sorry to make that equation, but what I'm talking about is that it's that community thing that you come out, that comes out of it, that you just like, oh, I want to tell everybody about this and I want everybody to do it. You know what I mean? And it really was that kind of a thing. And I know that you know, maybe for some people it's a little bit over the top, because I mean, I'll say I love your work and I love work like your work, but it's hard for me to create work like that. And then coming into an environment where you,
we're not trying to get anybody to make
no, I
work
know
like
that.
our work. We want you to
No,
make your work.
no, I know, but that's the thing, is that it like, when you say crack you open, that's what it did. I mean, I'm a grizzled old fart, if you know, that I think in my own mind, but that did something to me, you know, and you were very successful with it. So, and I know that you've had other people come down. I know that Ted Orland did one recently. I was watching that one pretty closely, and I know Ted, and you know, Ted's a wonderful guy, but you know, I could see where that would be something Ted would totally get off on, you know.
Well, that was a moving experience for me, and I just want to talk about that for a second, if you don't mind.
Sure.
So it was so great. The first time I met, first of all, Art and Fear is my book.
Yeah.
I stopped highlighting it because you can't highlight every freaking page.
Yeah, you just have to like soak it in pink ink.
But it is, and the first time I met him and David Bales was my very first portfolio review. I had not even made 20 good pictures yet.
Oh, that must have been.
But I showed up for the review in San Francisco, and thank God they weren't my first, maybe my fifth review or something like that. But I maybe had 18 pictures in my portfolio. But to walk up to their table, I literally said, "Hi, I'm Lori Vrba. You don't actually have to even look. If you will just let me sit here with you for 20 minutes, I'm good." Like, that book is, you know, a lifeline. And and then
everybody needs to read that.
I really got to know him in Carmel, and we can go back to that later. And then we asked him and Brian Taylor to come as our guests. Taylor recently retired from the Center for Photographic Art. And, you know, I just thought while we were there, and they were both amazing, but I have to say, you know, Ted's got this history with these, you know, icons.
Yeah.
And he's done every kind of retreat and workshop imaginable. But he was lit up, and he was up in every single moment of, you know, here's a couple of us making something up, just crazy over here. He would be deep in it. He was all in. And I just loved how open he was. There was no prima donna thing going on.
Oh yeah, no, not at all.
At all. Oh my God, he was lit up, and it was a
he's
joy.
like the exact opposite of that kind of thing. But
it was a joy.
Yeah, they're quite a thing. I mean, I've been lucky enough lately. They kind of have this group that gets together once a week, and they've invited me in, and I've come in the last couple of weeks, and you know, it's intimidating, obviously, you know, that's David Bales and that's Ted. Yeah. And I've never met David in person, but anyway, aside from that, it's that book that you mentioned. I mean, the book, Art and Fear. And, you know, I'm sure a lot of people that are watching this have read it before, but what it does is it sort of gives you, you know, that's the book that kind of gave me permission to do what I do. You know what I mean? To not go the normal route of everything and not be sitting around, you know, on my thumbs waiting for somebody to kind of discover your work and to handle you and do all this other stuff. You know, it's like, you know, not everybody can be that person, but it gives you permission to be that person.
Well, and we're not supposed to be.
No, I know. Yeah, I know. But a lot of people don't know that, you know, and you've kind of come up through that kind of, you know, we've had private conversations about this. You've kind of come up through the same sort of a thing, you know, I mean, like, you know, like you say, you started off doing the review things, and, you know, you understand that those are very helpful, but there's also a whole thing about that too. I mean, that's a whole other scene in itself. You know what I mean? So it's interesting to now, like,
we can talk about that.
Well, yeah, we could, you know, I don't know, you know, I mean, it's
you are in charge, Bill Schwab.
Yeah, no, but you know, I mean, I grew to like those things, and I became a reviewer at some of them and things, but there is kind of a scene that revolves around that sort of like, you know, that sort of feeds off of us as well, you know, and as you well know. And, you know, I never was down with that much, you know. So it's kind of hard. It was a hard fence, a hard thing a hard fence to run along, you know what I mean? You always wanted to fall off on this side, but at the same time, it was like, this is great. You know, people are getting together. They're doing exactly what you're talking about. And they're talking about each other's work, and they're talking about a lot of things, and much the same thing I try to do with photo stock, but there tends to be this pretension about it that's scary, you know what I mean? It's like there is a weird thing where we're all trying to be something in a world that's really a tough thing to be something in, and you know, and like you kind of cut through all that shit, and you became like kind of I did. It's sort of like, you know, we're just kind of having fun. We're just doing this for fun, you know. And when you do that, when you kind of cut through all that stuff and you get to the side that we're on, or that a lot of people are on, you know, it's kind of fun. It's fun to have been watching for the last 10, 15 years what everybody's been doing. And the ones of us that survived and made it through a lot of that stuff, it's so great to see what's happening, you know, and it's so great to see where it went, you know what I mean? And so I guess what I'm saying is that no matter really the, you know, the path, the outcome's been pretty good, but we all just have to be careful with the snake oil salesman that's out there. That's all, you know. And you know, it's just what it is. But you and the thing is that what's fun is that, like, the people that gravitate together, like, it's just amazing to me that Ted, you know, and just the other people, it's like we all kind of find ourselves, and it's not like through each other that we find ourselves, but we all still sort of find each other. And you're one of those people. It's really great. And you know, you bring a lot of people in, and Ann as well.
You too, Bill. And
right.
And
but,
the two more things I want to say just about the retreat. One is, you know, Ann and I have actually never made money on the retreat. In the beginning, we spent money to do the retreat because we knew we didn't have a name. And now we try and break even. But we recognize the fact that there's a certain audience that's coming, and we don't want that audience we don't want a different audience, because the people that come are the reason why it's magic.
Exactly.
So
yeah.
we want the same people to keep coming. So we just figured
You've got to be really careful of, you've got to be really careful of trying to appeal to too many people at one time, because, you know, you have to be careful what you wish for. And it can change your direction, and you might not even know what your direction is, but you know what your direction is not. You know what I mean?
Well, we keep it small as far as numbers. And I drive home from everyone literally powerful in a way that I try and hang on to for as long as I can. And thank God I get to go back, because I'm not strong enough to hang on to it forever. But it matters to me greatly, and I know it does to Ann too. And I feel connected to a lot of people that I wouldn't have known without that experience. So it's
well, obviously, and to everybody that's attached to you and that does it, you know, I mean, the people that I came out of my group that was with you, you know, Brooke Caudell, who does wonderful work and probably doesn't give herself enough credit for as much wonderful work as she does. And then Evie, you know, I mean, like, oh my gosh, I've watched these people all of a sudden, you know, it's like they show up in different shows and things that are happening over in Europe. And it's like, oh my God, there's Evie. And it's like, that was that tight little group that was there. And it was really, you know.
Okay, so you owe us some drone footage, by the way.
Oh yeah, well, see, I was going to get to that too, because when I said that you were intimidating with your video.
All the time. Ann and I talk shit about you all the time. We want that footage, man.
I'm finally onto it. You know, this is the thing, is that I'm finally onto it. I don't know if you've noticed, but I've been putting together this YouTube channel, and I've been putting together things, you know, all kinds of different videos. And I've got, you know, hours and hours of footage that I've shot over the years that I've never really done anything with. And your thing, I started on it, and it was just so intimidating, because the things that you did in 2 little minutes with a twangy little banjo tune and, you know, sepia toning just blew me away. It was like, there's no way I can do this. And it was so hard for me to do that. So now that I'm a couple years away, I've gone back into that footage, and it's amazing what I shot there. There's stuff coming in on that beach where you're standing there with the umbrella, and oh my God. I don't know why I was intimidated, but it's cool.
You have time on your hands right now. So
Yeah,
get on
and
it.
that's what I've been doing. I've been putting together all the Iceland stuff, and you are next on deck. And to no lie, I was copying all that footage off of my, my network drive onto my little
I'm gonna
SSD
be,
drive that I use, and it's gonna be gorgeous. And look for it in about a week. I was kind of hoping to
okay.
time it with this, but so it went.
That's hilarious.
But I
I'm gonna
do
be
want to
texting
explain
you
to
in a
you
week.
why I did not do that. You were
You're
so.
good. I just wanted to give you a hard time.
Oh no, but it honestly, this is one of those things that's really, I've not thought about it. I know I've never done that. You know what I mean? I never put one out, and it was just because all I had to do was look at the little 2-minute one that you did like on your way home, and it just blew me away.
You can't overthink things, man.
No, I know,
That
but
would,
you know me,
that
I
would
do.
shut me down on almost every single thing I do.
Yeah, it takes me down in a lot too. I do overthink a little too much, but it's just the way it goes. We are who we are, and I don't know. You just got to fight through it all.
I get
There's
it.
so many other things that get in the way, obviously, as well. And with yours, it was good. But there's stuff we're riding in the back of that pickup truck, and it's just wow, what a time. It almost made me cry looking at the footage. And so I'm now going to do something that's going to be mine, and I'm not going to be intimidated by you, and it'll be cool. And hopefully you'll be able to use it however you want. But it'll be fun for me to do anyway. Yeah, that was a good time. I wanted to thank you publicly in front of everybody for that wonderful time. From the time I drove all the way down there, I got off the dock onto that boat thinking, what am I into? I met Leslie and she's bringing all this food, and I thought, whoa, this is going to be something. And I got out there, and wow, it was like sort of, you just gotta, I hate to say it, but it is a little bit like an alternative substance kind of a thing. You just sort of relinquish control and trust in the fact that it's going to be okay. And it was great. So yeah, I had a great time from the time I stuck off that dock. And like you say, driving home, I drove all the way to Georgia, and so I drove all the way back home and had a lot of time in my own head after that thing. And I don't know, it did things to me that I probably just haven't shown up yet. You know what I mean? It's like, I just have to have the guts to do it. The video will be the start.
Yeah.
So anyway, you say you got another one coming up. In all these times, I've planned things for next year. Do you have a plan for it yet? Or are you?
Well, Ann and I just talked about it last week, and we are in a holding pattern like the rest of the world. So we have a possibility of doing one in the fall on Cumberland with, we have an amazing staff. I hate calling them the staff. We have an amazing support system of women who help us facilitate it there. And they're mind-blowing in their own ways and in their own careers and lives. But they come to Cumberland and help us with that. And we're talking about just coming with about half the numbers so that there's no shared rooms. And we're suspecting that it will be people that are willing to drive, because I suspect most people are not willing to fly. And we're just kind of waiting. We threw it out. We had a Zoom meeting with the last tribe, Tribe Howl, about 10 days ago. And there are people who are still, I think people want to, they're ready to get out and try things. If it doesn't happen in the fall, then we'll look at spring. We're not hell bent on a place or a time ever. Ann and I, I just want to mention this. I love when I heard someone ask Blue Mitchell about when Diffusion comes out, and he said, when I'm ready.
Yeah.
And
that's
I
good.
love that.
Yeah, that's a real good attitude to take.
Ann and I, always say, okay, the year I had my hand surgery, we did not do a retreat, but that was a shift when we, recognized the fact that we could do it on Cumberland. And that was, so we are just, we'll let you know. It's kind of how we look at it, not to be arrogant, but just like it has to stay an adventure
Oh
for
yeah.
us, for the
And
two
you've got
of
to be
us.
safe, obviously. And I don't know.
Absolutely.
I think that the more people have to wait, probably the better it's going to be, you know, because I've looked towards, you know, I've started to plan things for next year. I had to put off one trip that I've postponed until April of next year. And I was going to try to something in October, but, you know, I figured that it would have to be a driving event. But anyway, I'm all out for next year. You know, I'm making plans for Iceland, other things, you know, because really I got to do that. And you've got to do that as well. And people understand the world that we're living in now is that shit happens and things change. New shit comes to light, as they say in the Big
You
Lebowski.
saw
You know?
this coming.
Yeah, exactly. Really, you know, I mean, I don't know, that in itself, though, I took a lot on that. It's really hard, as you know, to plan what you planned and then to have something that comes like right up to that point and then it all gets shut down. You know, you're believing without, oh, we'll just shut down for a couple of weeks and everything will be okay. And yeah, that didn't happen. But I think that, you know, in looking forward to something and giving people to look forward to, you're doing exactly what you do on the trips. You're giving somebody something to look forward to. Like for me to like get in my car and drive down there and go on an island with you guys, I'd do it next week right now. You know, that's how I feel about it. You know, I'm not throwing caution to the wind. I'm being careful, but I'm just choosing to live in the world that we have to live in right now, you know, and
Well, and I'm too. And about that, I just want to say, like, how fortunate are we that we, with all the hardships that comes with being a creative, where you know you have to make stuff to kind of
yeah.
be well. When you're in a time like this, you are the most fortunate because I can lose myself in the dumbest idea to try something crazy just to see what it looks like.
Yeah. And that
And
really is, you know, we've been afforded that chance to be children again and to really go back and to play with things. Like, you know, it's one thing about like finally just putting all your work together and looking at it all in one thing and taking stock of it and making look at things. You know, it's things that I and probably you never take time to do because we're always chasing that next carrot. But my
I
problem
don't
is,
chase that carrot anymore. I have to tell you, Bill, I
yeah,
quit chasing the carrot. And I'm sorry to interrupt. I think that was
no,
rude.
it's your
I
show.
I have stopped chasing the carrot and I spend my time in just making whatever I need to make and being with generous people and most of them are also creatives. That is how I spend my time now, and that is actually the only way I want to spend my time,
It's,
period.
you know,
End of
and
story.
I understand that completely. And, you know, I mean, I think that this is in my just, it's in my just general character that I've been chasing. I don't mean chasing a carrot, but it's like this whole idea of trying to make something new happen or just trying to keep things, just keep rowing the boat, you know? Uh, it's been a
One of the
hard thing to
first
do because I've had a,
people
well, if if only people really knew the hardship and the things that you go through doing this stuff, and I'm sure you understand that. But at the same time, you know, what's the alternative? You know, the alternative is like, I don't know if I can live with the alternative, you know, but at the same time, you're right though. I mean, this has given us a chance to really, and we still have time to do that. Like I'm feeling already like I've squandered this time in worrying about things, but you know, like I don't know. You know, I'm having fun with it. You know, I mean, I'm having fun going through old work. I'm having
feel
fun discovering new things, and yeah, and
and
feeling
feel
not too guilty about it. But I tend to feel guilty about not doing anything terribly productive for too long.
and
You know, but
give me a break. You're not squandering anything. Look at you, like doing artist studio
this is
live
fun.
feed that you record to put out there.
Yeah,
And that
it's
is who
fun.
you are. And you are one of the first people that I ever met who I had great conversations with about that there's got to be a paradigm shift in our
Yeah,
collective community and mentality.
Yeah.
And can we all just stop pretending? And you were one of the first that I had a great conversation with.
Yeah, I've
about
spoken
that.
candidly with
And
people. I've not been invited back places because of my views on certain things.
well,
but
I pissed off plenty as well. And ask me if I care. I want to be part
true.
of a movement and a shift where we all just say, okay, this isn't working out so great.
Right.
And it's not because I'm not saying that if you have gone after the traditional model of success as a fine art photographer,
Yeah.
if you've gone after that and you're successful in that, I completely applaud you. But that is not the only
It doesn't
way.
really even work anymore, you know. I mean, it doesn't.
Well,
it's bad
and
to
it might for some
say. I
people.
mean,
No, I'm saying that there's more than one idea of success.
exactly.
That's
And
the point.
the old idea of what success was is it's chasing after ghosts. You know, it doesn't exist anymore. You know, and I'm glad that people are coming around with that, but it's hard being on the cusp of that because you know you don't want to be discouraging to people, but you
No,
also don't want to give people false hope at the same time, you know. And
but also,
basically
what
it's
if you
doing what
just,
we do. It's like, let's just throw that shit away and let's just have
but
fun, you know.
but what if you just reinvent,
Yeah.
you know, come up with your own crazy ass ideas and try that on.
Yeah.
But I think one of the biggest things in this whole conversation is this notion of scarcity, that there's not enough room for
Everybody.
all of us.
Right.
It only makes the world better if every artist who is making something that resonates with you or with anyone is elevated. So can we stop climbing on top of one another to get to that carrot and
Right on.
just elevate each other every fucking way we can?
Yeah. I agree. It's I agree. You know, you've felt that strange, weird animosity that you get of certain things. You know, I mean, it's just the way it goes. I think in our world, you know, we tend to try to be really cool people, but at the same time, we can be very competitive people, and that's not really gotten us anywhere because you know it's just sort of like, you know, the scraps we're fighting for aren't that great anyway. You know, I mean, we're doing this because we love doing it, so why not all love doing it together and not get on anybody else's case about it? And you know, you've been really successful doing that. I love that about you guys. You know, I mean, it's really nice to make
Well,
people feel
it's not
like they're part of
just,
something.
and it's not just about the retreat. I mean, I'm really, right now, you know, I'm about to turn 55. And
Youngster.
I consider myself a toddler in the grand scheme of photography and my place in photography. I used to say I was a newborn. I hope I've elevated to toddler, but I think now about how I actually want to spend my time. I'm 55. I think I want, you know, I'm even questioning, and I've spent a lot of time thinking about this in quarantine. I'm even questioning exhibition. And
There you go. You're not
took
the
a
only
look.
one.
I took a look. I have had at least one significant exhibition every year for the last 10 years.
Yeah.
I will not have one this year, and I don't know that I ever will again.
Yeah.
Because I'm starting to question how I want to spend my time. And I love installation. I love it. It is a life size, you can walk into it assemblage. That is what installation is for me.
Oh, and the things you do are so fantastic. They're
Oh,
so much fun.
but it takes all of me. It takes all of my time and all of my money. And in fact, I don't have enough money. I go into debt to make them.
I know how you
So,
feel. Yeah.
but I love them. But what I actually, I don't need to, I don't need attention anymore.
Yeah.
I really don't think I do. And that feels weird to say. And it feels weird to think that to admit that I needed attention, but I did. I wanted to know if I was good enough. But now what I want is to be with generous artists and be free to make whatever we want to make,
Yeah.
do it together. And I also do that on my own. And I can spend the rest of my life doing that and be very, very happy.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking that's a real possibility, but I'm not closed.
Yeah, you're not closing any doors on things. I mean, you're not the only person I've talked to like this, and other people will remain unnamed until they want to out themselves. But I know a lot of other people have been feeling this as well. I mean, we do a lot to do that. I mean, it's your life. It's everything you do to put that out there, and it's wonderful.
Yeah.
And you really do. I mean,
Yeah.
it really is. I don't know. I mean, like you talk about the attention part of it. I kind of got over that a long time ago and realized though that it was just a personal need to do this. I loved doing it. I loved putting things out there, and I loved seeing the response to certain things. And I loved to see just kind of how everything I'd spend my life doing affected people, I mean, that's fun to do, but there is that other part of it, is that I did this as a life choice, as a living choice. And that's not been a great life. I mean, it's like I tell people, kind of reverently, is that, the fame rarely matches the bank account. You know what I mean? It's really nice to go places and have people understand who you were. And, I came around a completely different way. It was really nice at first. And then I got kind of bitter about it, because it was like, well, gee, you take the time to do that, but yet I can't pay my car payment sometimes, But then it came around to the other part, is it's like, it's such a gift to do what we do, and just survival is, something you do to do what we do. Yeah, it's I mean, it's it's a life choice. You do it this way, and this is the thing that when I talk to people, and I don't want to be discouraging to them, but I also want them to know that this is a lot more than what you think it is. Maybe, you know what I mean? A lot of times people don't realize that.
And I try to, I am not trying to, I don't want to be loud about putting any idea, any institution. I don't want to put them down and make a show out of that. But I can tell you, I will never lie to an artist. So there are times where, we're riding in the back of the truck and someone says, hey, I heard something about you in that gallery or whatever. And I say, I'm happy to talk to you about that privately. And I will tell anyone the truth about every single experience I've had, because it's me and you in this.
And, I tend to do that too. I mean, it's hard to do that and not name names where you're going to hurt people. So I try not to do that anymore. I mean, I've gotten through that myself. But you and I have had this candid conversation where not only do we put out a lot of ourselves, but we get taken by people. I mean, that's something that people should really kind of be, they shouldn't be surprised when things like that happen. I mean, the horror stories you've heard about this actually do happen. I mean, I do know people that have copied other people's shows for a gallery, or have not been paid for gallery shows, or had a gallery go under and just take their work and have it show up in Germany 20 years later. I mean, there's just really weird stuff that happens. So you really have to realize that in opening yourself up like we do to put this out there, you open yourself up to a lot more, and you just have to be, you just can't be a happy-go-lucky artist if you're going to try to play the game. You know what I mean? It would be
But
wonderful if you did, and we can create our own environment where that happens. And that's a lot about what art and fear is. It's like, it's like we're the people, we're the power,
we are the people.
Exactly. We are the power. And it doesn't
We
matter. I mean, I
are the
love people's work and I
power.
love the darling museum person of the time, but there's so much work that goes on outside of that, and that's what I love about things that you do and things that Ted has talked about and everything is it allows people permission to be, what they are. And, also the democratization of this, Instagram, other things, where they don't work in our favor on one way because you sort of do become a dime a dozen. And there's people that don't know anything about history of photography that do magnificent things, So it really does kind of even that playing field, but it also does allow us all so many new things. Like we're doing this on Instagram of all things,
Dude,
or YouTube or
I'm
anything else. There's
serious.
all these different outlets.
I I have said this before, but if you have, and I know quite a few artists who say, I hate social media and I can't, I just always say, well, you're doing it wrong,
Yeah,
because
this is
if
the way the
you
world is right now.
if you approach whatever social media platform that you can make peace with, and I have two, um, and and you do. I personally, like, I just show myself, and that has come back to me in ways that I never expected. If that makes sense to you, does it?
Oh, total sense. Total sense. Yeah. Yeah. It makes me into something different, just even going through older work, I found out that I tell stories about things, it's like, who would have thought I have fun telling stories, but I never really realized that, you know what I mean? And it's just something else that I've been able to discover about, you don't necessarily have to be making something every minute. I've made millions of things. You've made millions of things over the years. You know what I mean? There's always new ways of looking at things and new ways of doing things. So yeah, it's look at the sun setting right now. It's just coming through the trees. That'll go away in a minute. It's kind of
No,
blinding.
I love it there, and
It's cool
that
here. Yeah, you've been here. You've sat on this porch.
I have.
Yeah.
I
Well,
was
hey,
there.
listen, I don't want to, this is turning out to be a great conversation. And, we could do this again, actually, because at first kind of feeling each other out and then saying, well, what are we going to say here? But I do want to not shift it away from you too much, because you had, with Roger Watson, you had this great experience with Fox Talbot Museum, right? So, like, I know we only have 10 minutes left. See, I told you an hour is going to
Wow,
go
are you
fast.
going to cut me off?
No, well, the thing is that they're going to cut us off. And then I have to restart it, which we're going to
Okay,
lose a
I
lot.
can
But
tell it fast.
yeah, so tell me
So what's your
about what
question?
happened with Roger.
So that's a great thing about social media. Um, I had posted an old image, a scan of my daughter that I had taken like 10 years earlier.
Yeah,
And I was sentimental about it. I posted it on Facebook. I was busy in the day, and I saw, I think I was notified on my phone who had commented, and I saw that Roger Watson had commented. And first of all, for Roger Watson to even follow me on Facebook was like a high holy moment. So,
I
like,
like
oh
Roger.
my
I've never
gosh,
met Roger, but I like
what
him.
the hell? What the hell has happened? So, but it was way later in the day that I went and looked at his comment, and it said, "Hey, Lori, I messaged you like 2 weeks ago and you haven't responded. Check your messages," which I did immediately. And he said, I have something I want to talk to you about, but I want to talk to you in person. Would you mind sharing your phone number with me? Which I did. And he called immediately, and that was like a life-changing day, because he told me this whole story about why he wanted to do this show of American female photographers at the Fox Talbot Museum. And the whole time he was talking, I was thinking he's going to ask for an image of mine. And I was freaking out. And I was in my pajamas on the back porch drinking coffee. And I was freaking out. And then he said, but I want you to curate it. And it was like I just went into this bizarre, you know, it felt like a dream for like 3 days.
Yeah.
Because I kept thinking, there's no way this is real. There's no way this is real. And you know, one of my dearest friends and my most favorite artist, Becky Griffin in Texas, she said, Lori, it's like you became an astronaut.
Yeah. Wow.
Because it was the most crazy thing. And then what do you do with that? And how many people are you going to hurt? And, you know,
yeah, it's a weird power, isn't it? I mean, it's
right.
Yeah.
And how do you say, wow, I'm going to pick the greatest who have ever lived? And it was really, really difficult and also really huge. And I have to say, the experience of Fox Talbot with Roger Watson, who is my fairy godfather, was epic. And he treated us like royalty, and I will never forget it. And that was just, it's never going to get, nothing bigger than that is ever going to happen to me.
Hey, don't say that, but yeah, I understand what you mean. I mean, that is big time stuff. Fox Talbot Museum, Roger Watson, you know, I had the similar experience with him when I was doing my Detroit project, is that he started following stuff. And because it was one night I took a picture on a street corner, and he goes, oh, I grew up just down that block. And it was like, oh my God, I didn't know he lived in Detroit. So it kind of made this connection. Now, I've never met him personally like you have, but you know, I've really enjoyed him and his support, and the fact that I mean, I don't enjoy this because he doesn't, but we broke our legs. We were brothers in broken legs at the same time and things like that. And, you know, I mean, but it's so cool that he did that, and that, you know, that's what I like about that too, is it's like stepping outside, not trying to do something that on his own, that he came to you to do that because you had your finger more on the pulse of what was going on. And,
well, and I'm telling you, it was so huge. It was like this. I started printing in my darkroom, making, I can't remember how many prints of mine were in the show. Maybe 7. I'm not sure.
mm-hmm.
But when I went down there and started printing, and I don't even think I'm a good printer, but I was thinking, like, how do you make prints good enough to hang at the Fox Talbot Museum?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, talk about intimidation.
I was out of my mind.
Yeah.
And I was like in this battle. And then I just finally recognized the fact, you can't make prints good enough. You can make the best prints that you can make because you've been asked, and just do your
rise to the
best.
occasion.
And
do your thing.
yes.
Yeah, and you do it so well, you know, I mean, you do it so well. It's like, but I know that feeling of not being good enough, but, and, you know, and you saying that you're not a good printer, but you're a good printer, you know what you're doing. And do you remember, and I mean, I don't mean to change the subject, do you remember that one night when we were down in Ossabaw and we were setting up, because there was people coming from the thing the next day and they wanted to kind of see what the progress was, and we were setting up that darkroom, and and you made that yeah, and you made that print in the darkroom, and it was just incredible. It was like really fun, and I saw that light up in your face. You know, you had that. It was a cool thing. It was fun to do. I don't get a chance to actually, you know, do darkroom with many people, you know, like that. That just kind of came out of nowhere, and we made it happen out of nothing. You know,
it was really fun doing that with you, and also I loved that it was like an emergency.
Yeah,
that elevated.
We work the best under pressure.
I know. I loved that.
You should
but
have
we
seen me
were
5 minutes
good.
before this went on. Tonight's the first broadcast through fiber optic that we've got, but yet it doesn't project to the studio as well as the old shitty, C3G did, So here I was like racing around here trying to point it out here right. And anyway, so it's just one of those things where, I work best under pressure. And you've done well too. I can't believe we've gone through 55 minutes of a conversation.
I can't either.
Yeah.
God, I can't believe I recorded either. I hope I did not embarrass myself or
No.
you.
No, you know what? You'll be able to watch it back pretty quick because I'm going to I'll just set it up on IGTV but I'll download it and it'll, it's going to, I wonder, I think we did really good. I think it was a good conversation.
Do you think so?
I think it was great. Yeah. I'm
Really?
sorry that I started off kind of like more pedantic and more, kind of like, hey, Lori, how you doing?
I'm all about
It took a little while.
I'm all about bitterness and anger. Everyone who knows me knows that.
It's all part of it.
Oh no, we're good.
Yeah, and I think that we did pretty well. We didn't really like point any fingers, and I'm sure fingers could be pointed my way too, but
oh, I can point some fingers.
Yeah. Well, I don't know, I mean, I'm trying to stay on an even keel somewhat.
Let's just all go to the good place together and
I think so.
Elevate everyone that is working within integrity. And
it's time.
Yes, it's time.
And it's not only happening with us, it's happening kind of across the board. I think that, and I hate to sound something like to say something like this and look back at it in 5 years and think, man, I had my head up my ass, but I really do think, it's like, I think that, even myself, you were starting to look at things differently and we're starting to realize, it really wasn't what we thought it was, and I think that this illness
it
has been a great pause button and a great reset kind of a thing. But at the same time, other, horrible things have happened in the meantime. And I got to say that for once I'm feeling kind of like, hey, things are going to get better, things are going to get better. So, and talking to you is a big part of it. It's been really great. Well, hey, I don't mean to cut this off, but I don't want them to cut us off because I hate when that happens. It happened to me one time. So we'll just continue this again. And, give my best to Ann. I was emailing with Ann the other day, and I'm going to be sending her some more of her books. And I've almost run out of photogravures, and, I just haven't done that in a while. And it was great to hear from you and great to hear from her at the same time. And I'm hoping that maybe I can get Ann to come on too. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I love the book that you made with
her. Yeah, it's a sweet little book. It's a sweet little book. And there's a few of them left and I want her to have them. Oops. I think I might have lost you. Oh, no, there you are. Oh, man, all of your instruments. We have so much to talk about. Your hand thing, wow, so cool. And, so cool to see you playing the guitar and all that stuff. So, kind of with that, I'm going to have to cut it off, I think.
I just got a 6-string banjo, dude.
Oh, I love my banjo.
One at the retreat. Yeah. So we're going to have to talk privately because I'm in the learning curve.
I'm into it. I'm into
friends.
it. It'd be cool. All right, listen.
Thank you.
You take care of yourself. Thanks for coming. And keep on keeping on. I love you too. Take care, Lori. Bye-bye.
Bye.